So just a little so you understand why I do what I do. Um, when I was 13, my father met me at the bus stop. He was walking towards me at the bus stop and said that an ambulance was on its way to take my mother to the hospital, which was quite a shock because she seemed perfectly healthy to me. When I got there, we found out that she had polyps in her esophagus and her colon that had ruptured. We found out she was diabetic and that she had hepatitis C and cirrhosis of the liver. That was a little bit of a shock because I didn't actually know that my mother was an alcoholic. I knew my father was, but I didn't know she was. So that was a sad awakening. The ambulance drove away and I looked around the apartment as I cleaned it up and said, there's no way in hell I'm going to end up like this. I have to get out of this. So I did what I had to do to get out of that situation. For the next 15 years, I watched her health decline despite me trying to intervene as a young kid and give her herbs. I watched my grandfather pass away from emphysema and strokes, and my father died suddenly when I was 24 of a heart attack because of alcohol withdrawal. So when my father passed away, I was 200 pounds, had acid reflux, hyperthyroidism, and heart palpitations. So my doctor wanted to put me on medicine, as they do, and I begrudgingly took it because that's what you're supposed to do when you don't know what else to do. And I said, there has to be another way. And at the time I was studying Ayurveda and herbs kind of on the side. So I started doing more research, and within 2 years had weaned myself off of that medication by adding seaweed into my diet, changing the way that I ate, and starting to exercise. When I was in college, I became a vegetarian, plant-based in 94. And the only thing that we had at that point were tofu crumbles. And I don't know if anybody remembers them, but they were pretty gross, but it was the best that we had, some veggie burgers here and there. That being said, on a college budget and post-college budget, I didn't have the money or the resources to try and like go through medications if I got sick or help my mother if she got sick. There just weren't the funds. So I was kind of forced to follow nature. And luckily, like I said, I had been studying Ayurveda and herbs kind of on the side. That became a little bit more of a forefront. So I managed to actually reverse all of those conditions. In 2007, I had a round of kidney stones. I was misdiagnosed at the hospital and decided that that was it. I had had it. I was immersed at that point in natural living. I worked for a chiropractor and a natural, an organic market in Bayshore. So I decided to take matters into my own hands 100% that time without the help of doctors. And that's what I did. Did my herbal thing and managed to fix those too, because I wasn't going to be as helpless as my parents were relying on Western medicine when I knew that I could combine it with the Eastern philosophies I had been studying. So that was the most important lesson that I learned right there, that nature is our greatest asset. She's the cheapest too, as ironically as that is. So at that point, people started asking how I managed to get healthy, this and that and the other. And that's why I started sharing the information with people. So as you can see, I've been immersed in this world for quite a while. I deepen my studies as I go along, but that's why I do what I do. So when I offer cooking classes, my job is to make food easier for you, because if I can make plant-based food easier and healthier and tastier, you're going to eat it, which means you're going to get healthier, and food is medicine. So that's where I start. This is what I do. My website, my tagline is Hope, Grace, Ancient Wisdom. Hope is the food, the meal plans that I do. Grace is the organic skincare line that I have, and Ancient Wisdom is what I'm doing. I'm teaching you via Zoom, via live classes, via the book I wrote. This is what I do, is share information for you. I want you to have the blueprint that my parents never had and that a lot of people don't have. I want you to have the detailed sketch to build the house, your temple, so that you can heal and not have to rely on external sources. That is it's also in the chat, but that's my email and my website. And you can peruse around there. There are some goodies on there. And the most important thing that I want to reiterate to you is that right there, that there's a middle path between nature and Western medicine, and my job is to help you find that. So without further ado, let's get into some goodies, because cheese is one of the biggest, one of the hardest things for people to give up. It's the flavor of it, it's the hormones that are in it. So if I can give you a few easy cheese recipes to kind of offset getting to the store and having to get dairy and stuff that you have in the house, then I've done my job. We do also have, there's a 201 class that Alex and I were discussing at the very, very beginning of it, which I'll discuss more in the end. What we are going to do tonight is I'm going to share the videos that are pre-recorded for making all of the cheeses. There are 4 cheeses. I'll also share the recipes with you so that you have the exact ingredients. If you want to make them as you go along, you can absolutely do that. We will take questions. If you want to type everything in the chat, that's perfectly fine. I'll get to those as I can, obviously, probably while the videos are showing. And if you want to make them, you may want to stay on until the end and I can help you go through that. There will be a recording of this whole entire thing on YouTube on the library's channel. And I'm going to, if you want to type in your email address, I can send you the videos, not the Zoom video, but the individual videos and the recipes. I'll put you on my email list. And I also have a couple of extra goodies that I'll send you. So without further ado, the first recipe that we're going to do is a walnut parmesan. Actually, the first one is cashew artichoke dip. Sorry about that. So I'm going to show you the recipe first in case anybody wants to write it down. Okay. So everybody can see this recipe. And I'll leave it up probably, and I'm sorry that you're going to have to write fast, but if you want to just take the list that Alex sent and then just write the actual quantities there next to it. I always include a little extra in case there's a little faux pas in the making of things. So the ingredient list that I sent you a couple of days ago, or that Alex sent you a couple of days ago, is not the exact recipes. So these are the exact recipes. 1 can artichoke hearts is the amount that's listed. It's I think it's like 14 or 15 ounces. It's the small one. Okay, I'm going to start the video for you guys. Everybody at a good point. If you're not, if you didn't get a chance to take a picture of it or write it down, type it in while the video is going, and I will absolutely put it back up on the at the end. Artichoke dip. I know it's artichoke dip, but I like puns. I'm a big fan of them, and you know what? This is one of my favorite dips. So it's a artichoke. Now, this can be served either raw or cooked. I'm going to show you, obviously, the raw version. If you want to cook it, you can absolutely do that. But this is the raw version that I used to make for people.
I'm sorry.
And it's basically, if you attended one of my past classes, it's basically the cashew ricotta that I made. And then I just started changing that up a little bit and adding other ingredients, and it became the artichoke dip. So we've got a cup of cashews, 1/4 cup of water, a 1/2 tablespoon of lemon juice. Then we have
our nutritional yeast basil and garlic, minced garlic. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna puree this so that it's the cashew regatta. So just let that go until it's creamy. You're gonna need to scrape it down so that it's all incorporated. And these are These are soaked cashews, by the way. So they've been soaked in hot water for a couple of hours. And then you just keep pureeing it, scraping it down, pureeing it as you go along. And you'll notice when it starts to get to be a nice smooth consistency. Let's check it one last time. Depending on how long you soaked your cashews, your food processor, a whole multitude of ingredients or factors, you may need to go a little longer, or you may need to add a little more water. Because there's a little bit of moisture in the artichokes and in the spinach, I'm not gonna add more liquid. But that's what it looks like. So it starts to get that creamy, ooey gooey consistency that's so precious. Then you're gonna add your artichoke hearts. I add the whole can. If you don't like artichoke hearts, then definitely add less. These are chopped finer than most of the cans of artichokes that you're gonna get in the store. So I'm not gonna puree these too much. You really just wanna like disperse them in the cashew regatta. So it's not much, it's just gonna be like that. If you want to puree it in there, you absolutely can. Like if you have someone that doesn't necessarily like artichoke hearts, or you're afraid that the skins, sometimes the leaves of them are a little chewy. So you may choose to puree it longer. Then all you're gonna do is put it in a bowl. You're gonna mix in your spinach. And that's gonna be it, folks. Now this spinach is frozen. You can use whichever version you like of frozen spinach. I prefer the Nature's Promise. It's organic, and it's only a little more than the regular frozen spinach, but I like the texture of it. The leaves are a lot bigger than, you know, the boxes of frozen spinach from the 80s. So then you just mix that in until it's well incorporated. You can use fresh spinach if you would like to. That's absolutely perfectly fine. Frozen, I just find is a little easier. I know the liquid content because I've already squeezed it out. If you're using fresh, you're gonna have to adjust for that liquid that's going to be in it when it cooks. And that, my friends, is cashew artichoke dip.
So there you go, folks. All right. Does anybody want the, yes. So you can use frozen artichoke hearts. Just make sure that they are thawed before you put them in. And does anybody want the recipes? Yes, Nanette, I did drain the artichokes first. You can use the liquid if you want in place of water. Sometimes I'll do that just because I like the flavor of the liquid sometimes. Okay, I'm gonna pop the recipe up for a couple of minutes for everyone, and that way I can also read the chat in the meantime. And as you see at the bottom, there's a lot of options for this recipe. I'm actually gonna show you guys some food porn pics because that's what I do. the end of this of options that you have for these, because once you have them in the house, you'll kind of start to find that you'll just start to throw them in anything. This is amazing in pasta. You can puree the whole thing so that it's like a liquid if you want, throw it in the blender and then just make it into a sauce. And then you've got, you know, artichokes, you've got vegetables in the sauce already. Or you can leave it whole like this. I'll show you a picture where my husband had made dough, a pizza dough, and we put it in a pizza stone and then poured this inside of it and made a artichoke galette. You can also put it in lasagnas. Like it really is just an endless list of things that we do with it, because if it's in the house, we're going to eat it and put it on stuff. Okay, another couple of seconds. Okay, so next up is the flavored yogurt cheese. This one I like. We used a soy yogurt in this recipe. I normally don't like coconut yogurts, coconut milks, coconut, I just don't like the texture of them. However, I will say that coconut and almond do seem to work a little better for this recipe. That I found out trial and error, thought the soy yogurt would be fine. It would be great for me to just eat it, but it doesn't work as well for this one as the coconut one has in the past. So I am going to leave this up for a couple more seconds because this is a short recipe, and then I'll show you how to do it. So now what I'm going to do is show you guys the videos for this one.
Flavored yogurt cheese. So versatile, I can't give you all the options. So I need you to help me with that. So we have 2 cups of non-dairy plain yogurt here. Then to that, you're going to add a pinch of salt, 2 tablespoons of herbs of your choice. This is where the options become endless. This is a blend that I use. We found her at an agriculture festival in Maine. And this one has tarragon, parsley, marjoram, chervil, and chives. So it's a delicious kind of spring mixture. So you're gonna wanna stir this. You're gonna wanna do this before you actually put it in the cheesecloth, because if you don't, it's not gonna incorporate as easily. Then once you have this in there, just pour it in slowly. As you see, the cheesecloth is going to shift ever so slightly. And you wanna make sure none ends up leaking out over the sides. And what I've done is I've doubled up the cheesecloth because I want it to strain really well overnight. And then I'm just gonna put this in the refrigerator. So what you do is just take the cheesecloth, comes like this, you unfold it, and then you just cut off however much you need to cover the top of the bowl. Put a rubber band around it, give it some room so that when you put the yogurt cheese in there, it has somewhere to go and it doesn't just fall through and everything like that. And then what'll happen is overnight, it's gonna start to drain and all the liquid will come out and it'll sit at the bottom. And then you'll be left with this nice thick cheese that you can put on crackers or bread or whatever you want to do with it. And that, my friends, is flavored yogurt cheese.
Okay, so what I want to do real quick is actually show you what that looks like once it's strained, because that's kind of important for you to know. Again, because I use soy yogurt, it took a little bit longer for it to reach this stage in development. But what happens is you're left with this. So you see that you end up out of that 2 cups, you end up with almost a half a cup of liquid. There's another one. And you can see that if you don't slowly pour it in, this cheesecloth is going to fall from the sides, and then you're going to end up with a hot mess. It's going to end up straining into the actual bowl, and you don't want that to happen. So I'm going to pop the recipe back up for you guys. And any questions while I'm leaving this up on the screen for everyone? This one you can actually, what I was saying is the options become endless because you can use whatever herbs you want to. You could leave it plain if you want as well. You can just have like a plain old yogurt cheese. I used to do this back in the 90s with dairy yogurt. Back then we didn't have non-dairy. So it's the same concept. You just strain it through a cheesecloth. I did run this class Tuesday night. I will give you a forewarning. One of the participants used orange cashew, and it actually just ran through her cheesecloth, and she had doubled it. She even tripled it, and it was so thin that it actually just poured right through. So make sure that you saw the consistency of it. Just make sure that it's good and thick before you pour it in the cheesecloth. Otherwise, it's just going to strain right through it. But that, I'm hoping that was just a fluke of hers and not just all the forager cashew yogurts. Again, I usually just stick with silk or the other. So coconut is the usual go-to. Yes, nut milk bags will absolutely work as well. And those you can reuse. Mine's just not very friendly to wash, so cheesecloth just makes it a little easier, but nut milk bags are much better. Yes, you can use this as a spread at a cheese bar. And depending on the herbs that you use or the spices that you use in it, you can almost use it like a sour cream. Okay. So I'm going to go to the next recipe for you guys. Walnut Parmesan. Just as an FYI, to make it faster for writing, maybe 3 teaspoons is 1 tablespoon. So it would be 1 tablespoon of salt, 1 tablespoon onion granules, and 1 tablespoon of garlic granules. Scott, I am going to have to look into that question with regard to the nutritional yeast. You could just try it without the nutritional yeast. It does add a slightly cheesy flavor, but it's not going to be the end of the world if it's not in there, in my opinion. So if you want to give it a try without it, you're going to find a lot of cheese recipes have nutritional yeast because of that umami flavor and kind of like the cheesy. It doesn't taste like cheese to me, but it does give it kind of that umami flavor that cheese has. So if you want to try it without it, that may work. I don't know of anything else that people use. There are other flavors, other spices that give that umami flavor. One of them's tamari, but then you're adding a liquid and that's going to make it confusing. It's going to make it too wet. Onion granules have that umami flavor, so those you may want to increase the spices a little bit and see if that actually helps. Donna says you can sub miso. Parmesan is not vegetarian because it's made with rennet, and in order to do that, it comes from the lining of a cow's stomach. So unfortunately, the cow can't even be alive. So that was a sad discovery. Yeah, if you want to use miso paste, people are saying that that works. It's going to change the consistency a little bit. I don't know in this recipe if it will work, but that maybe an option. So in the 201 class that I'm doing, there's a white miso in that. So I am going to go to the video for those that might be making it. So let me just get to that real quick. Except the closed caption's right over my play button.
I'm sorry about that.
Let me see how I can fix this. I got it.
So, walnut parmesan. I understand there's a lot of different parmesan recipes out there. I prefer walnuts, A, because they're brain food, so we can use that every day. Why not? I also like the umami flavor that they have, the kind of meaty texture and flavor that they have, so that's why I prefer them. I just think they're superior, and I don't think we eat enough of them. So you put in a cup of walnuts into the food processor. Now this is important. Make sure that you pulse this first so that it's to that Parmesan consistency. I have goofed before and added all the ingredients at one time and then tried to do it. It's just not gonna work. They won't incorporate well, and if you puree the walnuts too much because of the high fat content in them, they will turn into a beautiful paste that's delicious in a walnut butter, but I don't think you're gonna wanna put that on your food. So, just snap it closed, pulse it until it's Parmesan consistency. Give it a peek, check it along the way. It's not necessarily it doesn't have to be perfect, but it does have to be pretty close to consistency. And we're almost there. Yeah. So that's what it's gonna look like before you add your seasonings to it. Then you're gonna add your nutritional yeast. This is what gives it kind of that cheesy flavor. Well, not kind of cheesy flavor, it does give it the cheesy flavor. And then salt, garlic granules, and onion granules. I prefer granules over powder. The powder tends to have like weird flavors to me. I don't necessarily like them. But the onion powder does give it, again, that umami kind of meaty-ish flavor, cheesy flavor. Garlic's just good for you. The salt, you can definitely add less if you'd like. However, just remember that Parmesan cheese is a really salty cheese. And then you just pulse them together, just enough so that it combines it. Again, you don't want Parmesan butter. That's kind of weird. Actually, that's really weird. And then that's what it ends up looking like. And then we sprinkle that on everything.
Okay.
I just want to say thank you to Melissa. If we could just all have a silent round of applause to Melissa for doing the closed captioning. She did that throughout that whole video. That was awesome. So thank you.
You rock, Mel. Thank you. Yes, Nooch is nutritional yeast, if I'm understanding the chat correctly. Thank you, Justin. My husband wrote that song. The miso, somebody asked, miso. You might be able to dehydrate miso. It's gonna take you a while. I did raw food for a long time, and that's actually how I started on this whole cooking thing. And miso does take a while to dehydrate. It's gonna end up, it'll end up in a sheet kind of, and then you can break up the sheets. I can give you, Stephanie, I can go into the program and compare the calories if you would like me to. I usually don't get as concerned about calories because I'm more concerned about quality than quantity, and nuts. I keep them in check. You know, you can't eat a bunch of nuts and try and lose weight. It's just not going to happen. But like a little sprinkle of walnut parmesan, should be okay. But if you want the recipes with the nutritional info, I will put it in the program and then I can send that to you. So let me know if you want to do that. The reason I don't really like granules over powder over the granules when it comes to onion and garlic is they just get a little bitter for me. And especially when you add liquid, they just clump up and I'm not really all that fond of them. So let me, all right. So Stephanie, I'm just going to make a note of that real quick so that I do the, and if you didn't give me your email address before, Stephanie, if you could do that, that way I can send them to you. If you already gave it to me, I'll have it in the chat and look at it tomorrow. All right, folks, I'm gonna pop up the recipe again in case you need to take a picture of it.
Thank you for joining us, Stephanie.
Yes, thank you. I will email you. Okay. The last one is cheesy sauce. So this cheesy sauce, if any of you, oh my God, Mel, help me out with the name of the place. It's been 3-4 years. There was a pizza place in Oakdale that used to serve this cheesy sauce. Little Nook, thank you. How I forgot. They used to serve cheesy sauce on their vegan mac and cheese pizzas, all kinds of things. It was this cheesy sauce. So the recipe I'm giving you is like coveted secret information. Can everybody see that? Somebody the other night was, yeah, I know, I'm sharing the secret sauce. I'm going to make this a little bigger because someone the other night said that it was a little fuzzy at the smaller. Yep, that's what somebody said the other night. So let me pop it up to 300. Somehow it's not translating well through Zoom. Lisa, is that better for you? Okay, perfect. It might be the font. I tried to get all fancy and, well, that's what happens when you get all fancy pants. So this is the most important part you need anyway, is just the actual ingredients. I know it seems like you're making a whole lot, and you probably will, but you might be surprised how fast you go through it. Because the options for this are endless. Like putting it on pasta and then adding buffalo soy curls, which might be on next week's menu, I'm just saying. No, Justin, you can absolutely soak these overnight. It's absolutely fine. They just end up creamier. What I do is give you guys like the minimum time for soaking them. You can always soak cashews overnight. You can actually soak them 3-4 days. I've done that. Like I thought I was going to have time one day to do it and I didn't. Please make sure that you drain the water each day though, and water, otherwise you will get this nasty gelatinous slimy residue on your chickpeas. So just make sure that you do that. I am going to scroll down so that you can see a little more. You won't be able to see the whole recipe. I'll pop it back up at the end with that, but you'll see me do it. Kathy, xanthan gum, Wild by Nature has it. I think some Stop and Shops actually carry xanthan gum now. Linda, you can soak cashews at room temp or in the fridge. It doesn't matter. Either way is fine. They just absorb the water the same. Luckily with them, it doesn't matter what the temp is. Yes, Laura, if you're pinched for time, you can absolutely boil water and put it in cashews. And it does speed up the time significantly. Because where I started with all of this was through raw food. We didn't use the boiling water in them, but that is a great hack. Thank you so much for that. And if you have a high-speed blender, the time it's negligible. that you have to actually soak them, because it'll, yeah, I plan ahead. I try to plan ahead, but the universe sometimes conspires against me. So yeah, the boiling water is an option if I go, I forgot to soak them. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys the video now, and then I will pop this back on. Yes, I actually prefer that you use a high-speed blender over a food processor for this recipe, just so it gets really, really creamy, because you want your cheesy sauce to be, you know, really creamy and have a really good mouthfeel. So let me share.
Cheesy, cheesy, cheesy sauce. I don't mean like the Cheese Whiz crap that's in a container. That stuff's disgusting. So this is a really, really versatile cheesy sauce using cashews and a few other ingredients. So I have 2 cups of soaked cashews in here. I've already rinsed and drained them and added the 5 cups of water to this. So what I'm gonna do is I'm first gonna puree this so that it's already mixed up, and then I'll add the other ingredients, and then we'll cook it, and you'll see how delicious it is. So. So that's just to get it started, so everything mixes easier. Then we add a 1/2 cup of nutritional yeast, 2 tablespoons of salt. I know it seems like a lot. If you want less, you can do that, but this is, again, a big batch, and when I use it, I don't add any other salt. And then your lemon juice, 2 2/3 tablespoons. And then this is where you're gonna wanna put the lid on really tight and just puree it until it's nice and smooth. It will be a little bit foamy, but you'll see that it's smooth. We've got the beginnings of it. Now, if you were to use this, it would thicken up a little bit, but it's not gonna be a sauce. It's gonna be more of like a cream base that you're gonna wanna use for soups or anything. So what we're gonna do at this point is we're gonna cook it. We're gonna add xanthan gum so that it thickens, and then it'll actually be the sauce. So let's take it over to the stovetop and start cooking. Welcome to the stovetop. Here's where the fun and the magic happens. So you see that this is foamy. So what you're looking for, you'll know that it's thickened when that foam is gone. So we're gonna just kind of mix it low speed. Make sure that this is at low speed. This is an extremely universal, wonderful gadget, by the way. It has another attachment that makes soups, so it's an immersion blender. When you're making cheeses, this is crucial because you have to stir them constantly. So having a hand mixer like this is brilliant, unless you want bulky forearms. So this is the 2 teaspoons of xanthan gum. I like Bob's because it is non-GMO, and that is a GMO crop. So the xanthan gum is what's really gonna thicken it and give it kind of a stretchy, gooey, nice mouthfeel texture. Takes a few minutes for this to get to the thickened consistency. Cashews thicken as they cook. The xanthan gum helps that. And then once you're done with this, you just have to wait for it to cool. Keep stirring it as it cools because you'll notice there will be a skim on top, and you want to just incorporate that into it. But don't pour this straight from the pan into a glass container because it will shatter. And I don't mix heat and plastic together. So you can imagine how tired my arm would be right now if I didn't have this blender. Mixer. And like magic of time-lapse photography. Now we have cheesy sauce. So you see how the foamy bubbles have gone. The only bubbles at this point are from me actually mixing it. And you see how thick it is and delicious. So it's a nice sauce that you can put, again, on pasta. I worked with a pizza place that put it on their pizzas and pasta and subs. You can add buffalo sauce to it. This is another extremely versatile dish. We put it on fries a lot of times, especially Mexican, if we're making like Mexican fries, loaded fries. Chimichangas, I'll put it on top of those. And that's it. Beautiful, delicious, cheesy sauce. And then at this point, you're gonna wanna turn it off so that it doesn't burn at the bottom.
Okay. How long can you store this in the refrigerator? We keep ours, I think we've had it 2-3 weeks in the fridge. Honestly, sometimes it's not around that much because I do use it for clients. And can you freeze it? Probably. I've never honestly tried that, and I don't know that actually, I don't know if anybody has tried that yet. So Kathy, if you could let me know, that would be awesome. I'm gonna pop the recipe back on so you guys have the actual instructions at this point. And then you'll have the options. And then I'm gonna show you some pictures of food. Scott, this one works really well with miso instead of nutritional yeast because it's liquid. You're gonna have to experiment with the amounts though, because I've never done it. I don't want to tell you to just add equal parts of miso. The trick with this is you're not supposed to boil miso because it ruins the enzymes. So you would probably want to dissolve that in warm water and then add it after it's already thickened. And I'll leave this up for another minute or so, and then I'll show you some options. I do actually mix this with salsa. In the video, I said I put it on chimichangas and loaded fries. If we're doing like Mexican fries or something like that, it's actually 2 parts salsa to 1 part cheesy sauce, just to keep the fat content lower and give it that extra kind of oomph. So that, which I mentioned in the recipe, is a Pandora patty that I make, and sweet potato fries, air fries, and that's the cheesy sauce on it. So you can do that option. There's also, I had no shame one night. I didn't feel like making gravy. And so we took out some cheesy sauce after making barbecue soy curls, and then just poured a little bit of the cheesy sauce over the mashed potatoes, because sometimes you just, like I said, when you have the stuff in the fridge, you're gonna find all kinds of uses for it, I hope. That's my goal anyway. And then last but not least is a sweet potato lasagna that I made with cashew ricotta, which basically is the first recipe that I showed you. Just take out the artichokes. You can leave the spinach in if you want, but just take out the artichokes, or you can leave the artichokes in. It's not gonna be bad. And layers of that, mushroom, spinach, the sauce that my husband makes, and then a little bit of cheesy sauce on top. So those are some other options for cheesy sauce. And This was the artichoke galette that I mentioned at the beginning. You just line a pizza stone with the dough. It has to be heated, and then put the artichoke dip in it, and then put whatever like Daya or one of the other non-dairy cheeses on top of it, and you can add vegetables. There's heaters that you can't see. And then last but not least, that's a walnut parmesan. So that's a pasta puttanesca that has the walnut parmesan on it. Let me go back for a second. The artichoke dip, one thing that I had done recently, and I had shared a picture, I think it was on Facebook, shared a picture of it where we actually rolled it in puff pastry. And that actually the inspiration for that came from the Wicked Healthy. During the holidays, they had like a Wellington that was puff pastry filled with mashed potatoes and spinach. So we had artichoke dip lying around because we were making the food down, we were making this and we didn't know what to do with it, and we had puff pastry, so we stuffed that inside of the puff pastry with extra spinach and vegetables, and then baked that, and that was insane. So there's a lot of options that you have for all of these recipes, which is kind of the point of having those. Oh, Mel, don't worry about the typos. You rock for doing this. Thank you so much. Yes, Lynn, I am going to pop the recipes back up for you.
Yes, I just have to say, you do rock. Do not worry about typos. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yeah, we all get it. You're doing way better than I could. I'm going to shrink this down just a little bit, just so you can, maybe not that much. I guess I am. See if I can get you the other side. There you go. If you want a really decadent breakfast as well, there's something called chila. Based on omelets is what we call it here in America, but it's an omelet made with chickpea flour, or it's made with chickpea flour, and you make that into like an omelet, fill it with vegetables, fold it over, and then I've poured a little bit of cheesy sauce on top of that, also with salsa or without salsa. Depends if you want a really loaded chickpea omelet, which I do have the recipe for that, which I can share if any of you want that. I can email it to you. That filled with black beans and then topped with a little cheesy sauce and salsa is insane. And add your greens because you need greens. Greens are just so good for you. Nutritional yeast is what, Arlene, nutritional yeast gives it a cheesy flavor. Kathy, yes, chickpeas are in place of eggs. It's a chickpea flour though. It does need to sit for at least 5 minutes so that it doesn't have the bitter flavor, because it's raw chickpeas that are ground into a flour. But it's insanely good for a really filling breakfast. Spinach does have protein. All vegetables have protein. Complete protein actually is a myth that's been debunked several years ago. I'm sorry that that is still actually floating around. Your body is really smart. You don't actually have to get complete proteins in each meal. So it will have the amino acids in one meal. The food you eat has the amino acids in one meal. If it's missing, you just get that at another meal, and your body knows how to mix them all together. So each meal doesn't have to have beans and rice. It's delicious, but if you don't want to have to worry about complete proteins, you don't have to, because your body is much more intelligent than that. Unfortunately, the woman that wrote about complete proteins retracted that whole thing maybe 10, 15 years after she had written it. But unfortunately, the damage was already done at that point. And now it's like mainstream, and I still hear about it. And I just wince when I hear about that, because it's something that makes being vegetarian and being plant-based so confusing for people, and it doesn't have to be. And that's why I get so passionate about it, because I want this to be easy for you. And when you have to think about complete proteins and all this other stuff that's going on, it makes it too hard for you to just eat nutritious food. If you eat the rainbow of food and eat a varied diet, it's real simple to get all the nutrients and the amino acids that you need. There are other cheeses that aren't plant-based just besides Parmesan. I'm not sure which ones off the top of my head, because they weren't cheeses that I ever ventured into eating, but I'll get that list. Or someone, I would guarantee somebody out there probably knows. So if any of you can pop in and address that question of the other cheeses that aren't plant-based, or that aren't even vegetarian, because they do use rennet to culture some cheeses, unfortunately. Mark, did he use the chickpea flour and just water, or did he add other spices or anything else to it? The recipe that I use typically is just chickpeas and water, and then I add chickpea flour, water, and then I add some very minor spices just for flavor, like onion powder, garlic powder, you know, basics. It's pretty much the same stuff that's in the walnut Parmesan. I do add turmeric to mine just for that extra boost of anti-inflammatories. Okay, does anyone have any other questions or things that they want to add to it? Or did anyone make any of this? I don't know if you had time to make any of this as you were going along. I know some people had wanted to. So if you did and have any feedback, that would be wonderful as well. And any questions is great. I do have, we haven't scheduled it. There is an Easy Cheese 201 class that I have, where these are still, the point of the Easy Cheese classes is twofold. I want you to be able to easily make cheeses so that you have them accessible, so you have healthier options than dairy. And I want you to have ingredients come from the grocery store. Obviously, xanthan gum was tricky for one person. Stop and Shop usually has it. They tend to have a little more of selection of vegan and vegetarian foods than the other stores that we've tried to find. And then obviously Wild by Nature has it. So in the 101, I wanted really, really basic cheeses for you that you can make and just use almost immediately. The 201 class, you have to culture those. It's still easy ingredients. It's the same rules as the 201. There may be one or two ingredients that are a little hard, like and tapioca flour. But again, I found tapioca flour at Stop and Shop and at Wild by Nature. So all hope is not lost. It is local. But those require, in the 201, those cheeses require a little bit of culturing. So there's a cream cheese in there, a cashew soft Gruyere, a smoked Munster. It does actually melt. So that's the hard cheese. One of you had mentioned that at the beginning, that you wanted a firm cheese that melted, and that one does. And then there's a tofu cheese that does actually crumble. So it's almost more like a feta, but that one uses miso. So if you guys are interested in that, also just let me know and we can kind of get on scheduling that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, what a great turnout we had. What great participation.
Yeah, thank you guys.
I mean, what a great group. I truly apologize for the stressful beginning, but I think it turned out really well in the end.
Yeah.
We'll just have to, you know, make sure, or I will have to make sure next time that we're fully prepared. I apologize.
And yes, last resort, you can obviously get everything on Amazon. We end up getting the carrageenan from Amazon because that one is a little trickier to find. Thank you, Donna. And again, if you guys sent me your email addresses, I am going to all add you to the email list, and I will send you nutritional information. I'll send you these recipes. I'll send you the links to the videos, and I will also send you, there was something else I was going to send you. Nutritional information, goodies, I don't know, something else. You'll get a whole bunch of stuff in the emails. Thank you, Kathy. Oh, Diane, hi.
Heather, absolutely, absolutely. She will be returning. Do not worry about that. I'm sure we'll be talking, you know.
Thank you, Heather.
Probably
There is actually one scheduled. The dessert one is scheduled.
Yes, that's right. We have one scheduled already on the books, but we'll do more. There's obviously a demand. There were 68 people signed up, and we got a really great turnout. So this is
awesome. Thank you all. And the dessert one actually came about because of the last class that we did. Shirley, you actually asked for it, and that one is April 27th. We're doing healthy desserts. And if there are other classes, like when I email you guys, if there are other classes or there's something else that you want covered, email me back and just let me know. I'll work on it. Chances are it may already have been recorded.
Yeah. Or I'll put my email address in the chat as well if you want. If you have a class that you would like to see from Alicia, just let me. You can email me as well. The healthy desserts. I wonder if it's on the website. Yeah,
it is. It's on my website, which links back to yours. It's April 27th. But I'll include that in the email.
I'm on your website right now.
The events are at the very bottom. If you scroll to the bottom, all the events are there. Just click on, there's a link on the right side that says events. That's a lot faster. Just click on that and it'll be on there. There's an email. Irene, the next class, I'm sorry, the cheese 201 uses tofu, but it uses it as a cheese. I'm a huge fan of tofu and or tempeh. I love all things soy, as long as it's non-GMO and whole form. I don't know what that recipe is, but I so badly want that. A chickpea, does anybody know of a chickpea flour recipe that tastes like sausage? I can check Vegan with Richa, I think is how you say her name. I have one of her cookbooks. I don't think she has sausage in there, but I will look into that because I'm so excited about that. They, in my opinion, Asians, the whole bracket of Asian Indian, all Asians have done amazing things with vegetables and legumes and grains, and it takes the vegetarian and vegan options like through the roof, and they're natural and healthier than a lot of the processed stuff that you're getting in the store. All right, anybody else have any questions?
I'm just grabbing the link for the desserts program, and I'm posting it in the chat right now. There it is. I clicked on the Zoom link that's in that record, and there said there was an issue with it, but I don't know if it might just be temporary. So maybe just maybe give it a day. I'll have somebody make sure that it's set up correctly. But
Perfect. Thank you.
actually, I'll try on my other computer. Right? Yeah, it says. I don't know what's going on, but I'll get it straightened out, and we'll be good to go.
Okay. Yes, Shirley has a question. Oh, hold on. Code dessert link says the 14th. Let me make sure.
Wednesday, April 14th, 6:30.
I'm so sorry. I don't know what date I was giving you guys. Forget
Oh,
what I said earlier. It is April 14th. Shirley is correct. Thank you.
thank you. Yeah, I
The
actually
27th is a different class I'm running. Sorry.
I have a better link. I got a that I'm putting in the chat that you guys can use.
Okay, do you want me to update my website with that one, Alex?
Yeah.
Okay.
That last one I just put in should work for registration. Yeah, avocado mousse, supreme banana ice cream, black bean brownie. Can't wait.
I know, I just did that class last week and it made me really hungry for the black bean brownies again. I actually gave it to the pastry chef at work, so I want her to try it and I'm real curious what she thinks of it because she always likes healthy options and being a pastry chef.
Yeah.
Might as well have the experts try it.
Absolutely.
All right, any other questions before we let you guys go?
Yeah. Well, thank you, Melissa, for doing the closed captioning. Alicia, thank you so much. This was wonderful. As always, you put on a wonderful program, and it's not only informative, but it's entertaining, and I can tell that everyone that is attending is getting something out of it, including myself, and it's 100% worth it to have you back. So not only will we have you back for the desserts, but who knows what's next, and we leave
Yeah.
it up to you. That's the challenge we put on all of you guys watching tonight.
What's next?
Yeah.
Is it a cheese 201
Yeah.
or is it something else?
Yeah. So thank you all for coming. We
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank you indeed. Thank you guys. Have a wonderful night. And if you try these,
Yes.
or when you try these, there's no if. When you try these, please let me know what you think and what you did to like different than I did, like what you put them on. Heather, I don't have cookbooks. I am so bad at writing recipes. I actually don't believe in writing recipes. I'm one of those like Zen chefs, I guess, where I just kind of go into the kitchen and I do my thing and I don't write it down, and sometimes it comes out the same and sometimes it doesn't. But I have had people ask me in the past about that. It is something that I probably will, because I have a million recipes, so I will probably get them out there at some point. So thank you for lighting that fire back under my patukas, because I will write that down.
Okay. All
Thank
right.
you all.
We're hitting right on time. So thank you again, everyone. And everyone stay well,
Thank you, Diane.
be good, and we hope to see you soon, right?
Thank you, Heather. Yes, absolutely. Another what, 2-3 weeks?
Yeah, yeah.
Right?
Be here before you know it.
I know. Thank you all.